Welcome back to TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Rick. Got a video today from Rula Alani. Modern day misogyny plus my own opinions on men going their own way. Let's check this one out. Please like, comment, subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that chow. Stop that. I was suggested to this by one of the viewers, and I don't think she had a good time with this video because she actually turned off the comment section. So let's check it out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rula Alani, and today we have a lot to discuss, you guys. Unfortunately, I've come across this community of men. They are known as MGTOW. It basically stands for men going their own way. And how I was introduced to this community is by a comment on one of my videos. It was the video where I talked about when men settle down and when men get married, and I was sharing really informative statistics on what age men get married and why it's different from country to country and things like that. And I got a comment saying most men are going their own way, and I had no idea what that meant. So I did some research and I was shocked.
A good chunk of us are. I mean, there's many different ways to be going your own way. Like most mid-towers and passport bros are in the same boat, as we believe both of us are going our own way.
So in this video, we're going to talk about the community, what they're doing, what they're thinking, and why it's extremely problematic. So let me give you guys a little bit of background about the community, because it is not a small community. If it was not a mainstream community, then I wouldn't be here on my channel discussing it. But it's quite large. So they call their community a manosphere, like instead of atmosphere, it's all about men. And in a nutshell,
you literally have something called feminism.
They're an anti-feminist movement. It's this whole community of men who aim to separate themselves from women. And there are kind of different levels.
No. We don't aim to separate ourselves from women. We just don't want to deal with women romantically anymore.
And it's super silly, because they try to parallel the Matrix with like the different pills, like the red pill, the blue pill, whatever. So basically during stage one, it's like a man who recognizes that women are a certain way, and they have very misogynistic views on women, which we'll get into, but they still choose to do life with women, they still choose to settle down with a woman, but in their head they kind of know that women are extremely harmful, in their opinion. Now stage two.
Are women not harmful in any way in your own mind, girl? Do women not do bad things? It's always just men?
Is a man who says, you know what, I'm actually going to refrain from marriage, I'm going to refrain from even settling down or having kids with a woman. Maybe I might partake in like short casual relationships or, you know, friendships with coworkers, but beyond that, I'm not getting in a relationship, I'm not going to have a family, and so forth. Then there is this extreme sense of MGTOW, and this is men who completely want to dissociate themselves from women altogether. They don't even want to communicate with any women, whether it...
No one's going to that extreme to not want to communicate with any women at all. We still have to. It's part of society. Men are not that dumb to try to isolate ourselves from people like that.
Be family, a neighbor, a friend. And right off the bat, I'm sure you guys can see why this is problematic. Instead of empowering women and being happy that women are being granted more rights when it comes to business, when it comes to politics, when it comes to...
Oh, we are. We're happy you guys have all those things. We're not upset at that.
To all across the board, women are progressing, and we've been progressing. Now, men in this community find that to be threatening, which is absurd to me, because we still live in a patriarchal society, and even in 2021, being born as a man is literally giving you an advantage head start in life. So
what advantage? What head start do we have over women? You just even list a few for me, and I'll maybe even agree if they're valid, but I don't see any valid reasoning.
The fact that they're anti-feminist is already just so disappointing to me. Now,
so you want feminist men? Because they're more disappointing than non-feminist men or anti-feminist men.
Now, they have almost 33,000 members, and they have a forum containing conversations on more than 50,000 topics. The site also lists 25 video channels, and they have around 730,000 followers, and their videos have been viewed around 130 million times. Now, I even felt like I should not be giving these guys views when I was doing some research for this video, but it just had to be done so I could kind of understand how this begun, what their beliefs are, and so I could give you guys my take on it. So the fact that these men want to now say we're just going against all women tells me that they must have had some mommy issues to begin with. I have
Just like the women that have all men are this, they must have some daddy issues too.
a very firm belief that if a man does not respect or love or care for his mom, then there really is no
Shut the fuck up. I care. I love. I respect my mother to such a degree that you have no clue for you to be saying these stupid things about men not respecting their mothers. It's not because of that. It's because of you women out there that make my mother look bad as a woman. That's the issue that we have. Our mothers were great mothers. You women out there are trash compared to them.
room for him to care for, love, and respect any woman for that matter. For a normal gentleman, their mom is like the queen of their hearts. And so the fact that these men can't even appreciate their mothers or can't even go as far as
We can appreciate women and we can appreciate our mothers, but you don't appreciate how women in general treat us.
to be appreciative for the life that their mother gave them the opportunity for. Just
And also our father. You keep forgetting everything is on mother, mother, mother. Our father also gave us our life too. Don't forget the other contribution that men have to life.
already shows me that these men are probably coming from toxic relationships or had some sort of horrible experience with women, and now they are just pointing fingers and saying,
And we can't say this about women, about them hating men, because every argument that you're making can be easily flipped around and used against women, and women cannot defend against it. We actually have valid excuses and valid things to defend against.
saying all women are the same. Now, how many times have I seen women do this, where women have, one or two men in their life who cheat on them or do something, evil, and from then on they say all men are the same, all men are players, and I am the first person to stop them in their tracks and say no, they are not. And just like I stand up for women, I also stand up for men.
I'm gonna call bullshit on this.
And I am the first to, disagree with a woman who says all men are this way. No, I believe that in both genders we have good, we have bad. So to say that all women are a certain way is already just very, very...
We never say all women are a certain way. We always say most. And women nature does overtake majority of things.
disappointing. I would like to touch on some of their beliefs and some of their points because they do have some valid points, but it still doesn't explain why they're completely...
Shut the fuck up. If they're valid points, then you understand exactly why. You just choose not to understand.
dissociating from women in general. Now, their first point is that men tend to be incarcerated at a much higher level than women. So they're basically saying, why are jails and prisons full of men and not women? Well,
No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that we get jailed for much longer periods of time and much harsher sentences than women do for doing the exact same crime. That's the issue that we bring up, not this that most men are committing crimes. We understand that already.
Well, my response is because men tend to be the ones partaking in destructive, in reckless behavior, right? How many times have you heard of female gang members? Not very often. How many times have you heard of women shooting public places like schools and movie theaters? Not very often, right? These tend to be men. I'm not saying they're always the case, but once again, we're talking about averages and majorities here. And when we look at the stats, men are at the majority when it comes to committing crimes. So this makes sense why.
No, I actually think women commit crimes almost just as much. Just they never get sentenced or get arrested for it. Women commit crimes constantly. You don't think women just rubbing on men's junk all over the place is not committing a crime?
Why they are incarcerated at higher levels. Their second point is that women tend to win more custody battles, and they believe that.
See, she already twisted our first argument around, and it's not that more men are incarcerated. No, it's men that gets harsher sentences and longer sentences than women of the same crime. That's what we point at.
Courts favor women. Now, let's be real, courts try to be as just and.
Shut the fuck up. You don't know shit. Courts don't try to be just. You've done no research. You've had no experiences with men that have gotten screwed over by this court system that is just to you. That's bullshit.
Fair as possible, and a lot of the times women mothers are winning custody battles because they show more nurturing behavior.
No, because there's a default setting for most judges and how things are ruled.
They show more capabilities for taking care of and raising.
Really? When they all need spousal support and child support and can barely feed their children and are all in Section 8? They are better suited to take care of the child? You really think that?
Children. So while fathers tend to help maybe when it comes to monetary things or simple things, women tend to take on the major responsibilities when it comes to raising children. And
you act like food, shelter, and money is not a major thing to help raise kids.
And that is why they win most custody battles. It's because they want to take care of their children. So once again,
shut the fuck up. No, they don't. They just want money. You're just saying almost all of these single mothers want their children? You think all fathers don't want their children?
Again, this explains why women tend to win custody battles. It has nothing to do with courts being sexist or
You have no clue. I can see why the comment section probably roasted the shit out of you, and that's why you had to turn off the comment section.
Favoring women. It really has to do with which parent has the time, the energy, the attention, and the resources to do so.
Exactly. The resources. Most men have the resources.
Now, another point that they bring up is the high levels of divorce. Now, their thinking is, why would we even marry women when most marriages end up with divorce, when they end up with women taking half of the guy's money, and so forth and so forth. Well, once again, we need to think of what has changed over the past few decades. Why are divorce rates so high? Well, because women have been granted more autonomy. So back in the day, even if you're
because you have granted more autonomy, it's okay for you to break up families and create single mother households? That's what your reasoning is? That because we have more autonomy, we should be able to divorce and do whatever the fuck we want?
Great-grandmother was in a very unhappy marriage with your great-grandfather, it was very unlikely that she would actually leave him. This is because our great-grandmothers didn't have access to their own resources, right? It was pretty rare for our great-grandmothers to have their own jobs, to have their own safety.
And this is the assumption I hate that most women seem to think, that all grandmothers and grandfathers just had horrible relationships. A lot of them actually had very good relationships, and you seem to project that onto them because modern women can't seem to get any type of relationship.
Savings account, to have their own plan B's and C's. So why are there higher levels of divorce now? Well, because women do have plan B. They do have savings account. They are actually...
You're wrong. Most women don't have plan Bs. Their plan B is to take their resources from their husband. They don't have their own accounts. They don't have their own money. Women are broke, dusty, musty crusties.
Actually caring about the well-being of the relationship rather than just sticking it out for life. So I don't think that divorce has become more common just because relationships have become more conflict ridden, but it has to do with so many things. And a lot of the times when we're thinking of the 1800s and the 1900s,
1800s? Really, girl? You're thinking over 200 years ago?
women stuck around with men because they had no other option. They had nothing else to do. They couldn't go and get a job and rent their own.
Shut the fuck up, because you don't know anything. In the 1900s, women were able to do everything that you're saying. They could have gotten a job. They could have gotten a bank account. They could have gotten property. But if they were married, then they couldn't.
Apartment and figure out life on their own. They were basically stuck. So to say that, oh, the divorce rates, point to something alarming, it's the woman to blame. Well, think about it. Once again, it takes two to tango. A lot of times,
if women are initiating at a 70 to 80% rates, then yes, we can blame women on it.
People divorce because of affairs, which are committed by both men and women, or they're just their divorces happen because people just have different interests. They find
it just happens because they have then don't get fucking married, you idiots. The whole point of marriage is it is a forever thing, not this temporary thing that all of a sudden I don't feel it. You're so stupid to be arguing the fact that marriage seems to be temporary in your guys' minds.
Find out that they were a lot more different than they had anticipated. They want different things in life. They grow apart. So there's a lot more here than just women to blame. Now,
it's called duty.
The reason that this is so problematic to me is that I feel like these men are basically digging themselves in a hole. Now, when we think of men isolating themselves, I tend to immediately think about suicidal behavior. Look at the men who have committed suicide in the past. It tends to be men who have isolated themselves from everyone, whether it be men, women, friends, family. And so
yeah, it's funny because she still puts the blame on men. Maybe society should be reaching their hand out to help men a little bit. Maybe give men a little bit of a hand. Give men a little bit of a help with these issues instead of just blaming us to handle it ourselves.
So just this process of MGTOW, men going their own way, wanting to separate themselves, tells me that these men are just...
We're not separating ourselves from society. We're going our own way from women. We still have boys. We still have our people. We still have our coworkers. We still have our friends. We still get commitment from our friends. We don't care to commit to you and drain our resources to women that are unappreciative. That's the main goal.
Running from their problems instead of figuring out kind of the source of their angst. Why women
we figured it out. It's you women. That's why we are walking away from you.
Are so triggering for them. Instead of going to therapy, instead of working on themselves, instead of doing things to better themselves, they're basically...
No, MGTOW tells everybody. MGTOW, the manosphere, talks about self-improvement constantly. We push our boys and our men to constantly be better, do better, get your asses to the gym.
Just blocking out women altogether and saying, oh, life is better over here without women. That is a lie. And sooner than later...
You think it's a lie, but for men, it's actually true. What do you ladies provide to us in our daily life other than sex and nagging and all of this other baggage?
You're going to realize how lonely, how incredibly depressing.
And this is what we tell you ladies, but you guys seem to choose the loneliness because you don't want to settle.
life can be, and this has to do with both sexes. I personally grew up in a female household. It was me, my mom, and my sister. My parents were divorced, so my dad did not live with us. Not having a masculine energy around was not a positive force in my life. It was a negative force. And I think that everyone, whether you're man, woman, trans, like, it doesn't matter your orientation, we both need access to both feminine energy and masculine energy. And if we completely block out one energy over the other, we are going to suffer so many consequences. So let's talk about some of the effects of having an excess of masculine energy. This is also known as the wounded masculine.
Excess masculine energy. Most men barely have any masculine energy.
So just like there's a wounded feminine energy, let's say you were rejected, or let's say you experienced some sort of abuse as a child, women tend to form.
How did you go from rejection and then abuse as a child as almost similar to each other to use as examples?
Dependencies where they're super needy, they need a lot of attention. That's what happens when we have a wounded feminine energy. Well, let's talk about wounded masculine energy, because that is what all of these men are going to end up struggling with. So in a wounded masculine energy, we find men who are too intense, too serious. They get angry very easily. They don't have much balance in their life. They tend to abuse their power by being overly aggressive, overly violent, overly controlling. They tend to be very...
How many of these men are actually out there?
Very competitive, very critical, very confrontational, and...
This is just men. We don't abuse power, but we're confrontational.
Just overall avoidant and
unsupportive. Really? That's what you're going to put an unwounded masculine? How is being unsupportive a masculine thing or a feminine thing? It doesn't even... Unsupportive.
Unstable. So do any of these traits sound like something that's going to help these men? No, it's actually going to hinder them and push them deeper.
What professionalism do you have to diagnose these things for these men?
Down in this dark hole. So whatever this cult-like membership is trying to accomplish, I think unfortunately they are going to get the opposite effects. We all need one another.
The accomplishment is men protecting their resources, protecting themselves, going for finding their purpose, and not having to worry about women.
Right? Now, the feminist movement never came out and said, hey guys, all of us ladies are going to stop talking to men and stop dating men and stop marrying men and stop having kids, and that's going to solve our problems.
How do you not think that? Because look at how everything is. Women don't want to get married. Women don't want to have kids. Our birth rates are nothing. Yes, feminism pushed for that.
The feminist movement had to do with uplifting and empowering women so we could...
But with pushing men down. You seem to think feminism and women were just all rainbows and sunshine. We only cared about women's stuff, you know?
To finally be considered equals and equivalents to men. Everything about the feminist movement was about uplifting women so that we could be on the same pedestal as men. And so the fact that
You are so brainwashed, girl. I don't even want to finish this video. It's just how stupid she's going about things.
These people in this group are anti-feminist tells me, well, they really didn't want women to have rights to begin with. They wish that women were still weak, still inferior, and that men were still...
You technically are. I'll straight up say it now. You are weaker and inferior into us in many ways. But we are also inferior to you in many ways. But we're not weaker than you, that's for sure.
Superior and dominant. And I think that this is kind of their stab at trying to get their power back, when little do they know our power resides in having one another. I think
your power resides from us giving it to you. if we didn't give it to you, if men didn't say, you know what, yeah, you deserve some rights, you wouldn't have any.
What makes a woman awesome is that she's not a man, and vice versa. What makes a man so awesome is that he has traits and masculine energy that a woman doesn't really have. So we really do need to think of men and women kind of as coming together.
That's what we think. You women. Feminism seems to push that apart.
Perfectly, like puzzle pieces. Anytime we completely just take one piece out, well, you're never gonna be truly fulfilled and complete. Now, I'm not saying you need a wife or you need a girlfriend to find fulfillment. No way. We can all find fulfillment within, but when it comes to communicating, and let's not forget, we're social creatures, and if you're telling yourself, well, I can't communicate with half the population out there, that is definitely going to have repercussions mentally, physically, emotionally. We are social creatures.
Yeah, we see it happening to you guys all the time. It's called cat ladies.
So limiting yourself to only being able to talk to half of society is going to have detriment.
You really think MGTOW means that we just don't want to talk, we're not going to talk to women or acknowledge women in any way, shape, or form? We can't go through society like that. It's just we don't want relationships with women that don't reciprocate because laws are against us. Women are against us. We can't trust you in any way, shape, or form nowadays.
Detrimental effects. Even a man himself, the blogger Matt Forney, wrote that men going their own way is no way for men to go. I honestly found that to be pretty funny, but hey, I didn't say it. It came from another man. So
just some random man just said something like that and you're just like, oh yeah, this is it. Why don't you look at all the other men that say the opposite?
I really feel pity for these men. I honestly do.
No, you
now,
don't.
I understand why
you literally seem like you have no sympathy nor pity for these men.
some men pursue MGTOW to begin with. Perhaps they have been manipulated by an ex. Perhaps they have had their heart broken.
Girl, we've seen how society is. We don't have to be manipulated by exes to see how women are going about living their lives and trying to destroy men along the way.
They've been cheated on, they've been lied to. We've all been there. Whether you're a man, a woman, we've all had poor, negative experiences with somebody, with an ex-partner. I always encourage my audience to do this. Anytime we have a poor or negative experience with someone, we need to stop and reflect. And instead of pointing the fingers at, oh my God, all women are to blame, which is what these men are doing, we need to look inward. And we need to be introspective, and we need to understand why we allowed ourselves in that situation to begin with. So this is kind of my advice to these men in MGTOW.
We don't care.
Instead of just pointing the finger at women, point the finger at yourself and realize, where did you go wrong? Why did you allow...
Why don't women ever say this to themselves when we always hear, oh, my boyfriend was a narcissist, he was an ex, he always mistreated me, all of my exes were this. Why don't you ever give this advice to the women?
Yourself to be manipulated, to be lied to be in a situation where you got your heart shattered. We can all grow from these experiences and we can actually better ourselves. So my advice for these men in MGTOW is to analyze their past relationships, their past situationships, whatever it was.
You do realize that a lot of MGTOW guys have never even had relationships in general. Most women don't want relationships with most men. This is a given.
And to understand why whatever happened, happened. And to maybe instead of just Xing out all women into all together, why not choose women who are actually deserving of their love? I really wish that I could bring all these MGTOW men here and give them a big hug and just let them know, hey, just because that girl hurt
we don't want you to touch us.
You in the past does not mean every single woman in the future will do that. We all need to take risks in life, whether we're men, women, whether it comes to career or love, right? Love is a risk, and every time we meet someone...
That's a shitty risk.
When there is a risk, there's a risk of heartbreak, there's a risk of, getting our feelings hurt, of being rejected, but that doesn't mean we stop trying. So I just encourage these men in
And then we should tell women the same thing. Why are you not settling? Because you don't want to settle because you rather live on your own? Why you stop trying? Why did you give up? Is it because you don't have the abilities to? Yeah, pretty much it.
MGTOW to try again. You don't need to dive into a new marriage or a new partnership, but just try to select high quality women that have your best interest at heart, and I doubt you would have these negative experiences that you've had in the past.
Girl, you don't date girls, so you don't even have a clue of how horrible women are.
Last but not least, I'd like to read off this quote from an article I read because I feel like it really just sums up everything I want to say in the best way possible. The MGTOW are sorry excuses for men, but what they represent is a profound shift in the way men and women relate. We are increasingly afraid to work with each other, to flirt with each other, to love each other. We are becoming terrified of what, not so very long ago, was the most natural thing in the world.
And I wonder who killed it. Men are still like this. Men want to be like this. But laws and women made it so we're not.
And I'll just leave you with
and
that.
Calling us a sorry excuse for men. Let me say this. Women that don't appreciate men in any way, shape, or form are sorry excuses for women. We built everything. We gave you guys everything. We gave the rights out. We protected. And yet you still shit on us. As if we didn't do all that.
Because honestly, it did make me emotional. It did make me sad reading all these men thinking that, oh my God, their life is just so much better without women. I pray for every woman in my life to find true love, I pray for every man in my life to find true love, to find a lady that uplifts him and supports him.
Sure, everything is rainbows and sunshine. Everybody gets everything they deserve because that's what I believe. Shut the fuck up. Nobody gives a fuck about your stupid ideals that are never gonna happen. We don't live in a utopia where everybody's gonna get their soulmate.
Doesn't use him or abuse him or manipulates him, but actually wants what's best for him. And I know it's out there, not just for men, but for women too. I think we all are capable of finding someone great.
It's just so stupid. We're all capable of it, huh? Because there's just so many people that are just good people that we have selection of.
It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter what preferences you have. It doesn't matter. We all can find someone who is beneficial to us and who is a positive force in our life. So, to be honest, the more that I'm reading about this topic, the more appalled I am and the more sadness I have.
Appalled? Really? Again, you turned off your comment section. That's how much of a baby back bitch you are when it comes to this. Because you got destroyed and you turned it off. I'm almost positive that's why. Because you couldn't take the criticism and you couldn't take men defending themselves and giving you valid reasons. It's sad when women are clueless and they come on and talk about these things. She did really no research. She read one forum. She went to one forum, maybe, and read a couple comments. She has no clue the things that men go through and why we're leaving. Her reasonings or her little snippet was complete trash. Please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that.